Hi, how are you? I'm Deanna and I'm with Elixir of Hope. And I heard about you through a friend in Baltimore, but she referred me to Baltimore Corps. And I saw, a few African American men who are, on the front lines. And I just wanted to pick one or two to just interview and share their story. So please first introduce yourself and let us know what you're doing and how long you've been doing it.
All right. My name is Nigel Garcia, program manager for Baltimore Corps, and today is actually my 1 year anniversary of working for the organization.
Oh, wow, congrats.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we just have a few questions we want to ask you just to inspire a few people or just help people just try to navigate their way through this type of work. The first question is, how were you introduced to community activism? And if you can describe a specific memory or experience, like one that really caught your attention and allowed you to form your idea of what you wanted to become when you got older.
Two real powerful memories jump out to me, actually.
Okay.
First one is my mother taking the time on her birthdays to go feed the homeless.
Okay.
She did that for about 8 birthdays straight, and that was just a powerful thing for me because we didn't have a lot to begin with ourselves. And she would do this on her birthdays as like a gift back, a blessing to other people. And that jumped out at me because it let it be known to me that you don't have to have a world of wealth to give back. You just need to have the intention and the time to do it. So that was a powerful thing for me. And also in high school, there was a case of police brutality. A young immigrant student by the name of Amadou Diallo was shot 44 times. And that was the first time I participated in a mass student walkout and felt powerful, surrounded by other like-minded people who understood the pain of the situation and wanted to change it. And I felt strong in that moment, being with those other people. So that really sparked in my mind to, one, find like-minded people, and two, I don't have to be the richest man, the smartest man to give back. So I have to have the time, the dedication to do it.
And so when you were giving back to the homeless, because I do engage in things like that, like giving clothing and food to the homeless, like what type of feelings do you feel when you do that? Do you feel a sense of ownership? Do you feel a sense of commitment? Do you see yourself in that person? How do you feel?
So from that young age, I definitely saw myself in those men. And I do volunteer from time to time now, helping out in soup kitchens. And it's a sense of, I'm with you right now in this moment. I'm here with you. I'm trying to help and connect with you, and thank you for allowing me into your space to help and connect. Right, so it is a feeling of connection, of just helping serve the people who want to serve you.
Right. And about the incident in high school, how old were you?
I was, I believe, like 14.
14, so you're a freshman.
Yeah.
So did you hear about it? Did other friends convince you, or did you decide on your own as soon as you heard it? Like, did you have a personal connection to the rally, or did you just hear about it and it's like, I need to do something? You just found something to do.
So pretty much it kind of grew organically. Like, this is before the age of mass sex messages, right? And one of my friends came to school and was like, oh, all the New York City high school kids are going to walk out.
Okay.
No one knew if it was real or not, or if we're going to get in trouble. And then at that point I said, well, we're going to walk out. If this is what we're walking out for, we're going to march them for, it doesn't matter if we get in trouble or not, if it's not real, we're taking a stand for what's happening.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I think that's so important because the idea of trouble, when it's for a purpose, like, to me that doesn't exist. That just means that you're deciding that I do not connect with the status quo at this moment. Like, I don't think that everything is black and white. I think that anything that is to come has to first be initiated by someone who believes in thinking outside the box or acting outside the box. So I think that probably was one of the major seeds, because at 14, fear could set in easily. As a freshman, like, you're not as, I feel like for me, that was a socially awkward phase in life. You don't have as many friends, and, to be faced with that type of stigma, and to still, in spite of everything, just say, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm doing. I think that took a lot of courage. And I think, like a lot of kids now, because we have the high schoolers, they're really feeling inspired to act. And I feel like hearing that story will, just show them that no matter what, there's always a reason, there is always a way to stand up and make sure that people know that this is who I'm siding with, this is what I believe in. So thank you for sharing that. The next question would be, who were the people or organizations in your neighborhood that had the greatest impact on your childhood? So I know you said your mom, passed out food. Was it with an organization? Was it with a group of people?
It was actually by herself, and that's why I give her so much credit, because she would wake up at like 4 in the morning, cook like 100 meals. She had help, my older brothers.
100 though?
Yeah, from the Caribbean, so.
Right. She knows how
she knows how to get it done real quick. Peas and rice is very fast to do, and of course the protein and chicken.
Right, it's filling. Yeah.
No vegetarian meals at that time. That's not what we were thinking, right?
Right.
So yeah, seeing her do that was just inspiring. But then also, give credit to a 5th grade teacher I had, Miss Walls. She taught us beyond the curriculum of like Black American identity. She taught us and had us critically look at systems of oppression that still exist in this time, and that was powerful for me because it was. The blinders were off, kind of. I was able to kind of learn, but then also investigate and question things that I was learning. So yeah, she had a.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say she had a great impact, like on my life.
And I think that's a part of what's missing in curriculum now, because I think that is probably the seed that planted what you were able to cultivate in 9th grade. Just feeling the freedom to express or to identify or to investigate, like you said. I had a similar, was this teacher African American?
Yeah.
And so I had a similar English teacher who, I had always been considered accelerated or whatever, but nobody ever really took the time to show me what my skill set was. And that was the first African American teacher that I had, and he was a male. And it was the first teacher that told me that I was a good writer, that showed me, what it meant to be a storyteller or to be the mouthpiece for a generation. And I feel like without those pieces along the way, and it's that you need this information at that moment because you remember it to this day. You remember her name. And so it's where would we be without those people who didn't even know who we would become but knew that they had to share that with us? And a lot of times the kids now, they don't have teachers who are willing to step outside the boundaries of the curriculum because of state mandates and test scores and all the other politics that go along with teaching now. But I think that's when community organizers and mentors have to step in and really connect with students on an individual level, because everyone won't grab the same information, but you have to connect with the students and really take the time to figure out what they're good at. So have you, since you've graduated, have you ever been a mentor or connected with students, or not even in a strict way, just a cousin or a young kid that you just see, okay, I don't know what you're gonna do, but I feel like I have to give you this, or I feel like I have to share this with you? So
I do have to say, working for Baltimore Core this past year has increased that opportunity for me to kind of give back. You always avoided for a long time kind of mentoring because it's a moment of self-doubt. What do I have to offer? I'm not out here changing the world. I'm not a young Barack Obama, but then you have to talk to myself. And let myself know that I do have a gift to offer. And if that gift is empowering others, then so be it. There's actually one young person right now in my current job. He's a passionate, dynamic young man. And I just try to pass on my life lessons I have learned in my 20s so that he can avoid. Because I look at him and I really do see him being a powerful leader in the future. So any support I can give him, I do, because it's going to do great things. And that's important for me to just kind of sit back and watch his journey. That's kind of how I view mentorship as well. The spotlight is not about me. It's about the other young person that you recognize is going to do tremendous and great things and just helping them along their way.
And I think one thing that you said that stuck out to me was that, the self-doubt. And I feel like a lot of leaders have self-doubt. It's that connection to your humanity that makes you beneficial. Because people who are arrogant usually don't take the time to connect with other people, and so they don't really have a bridge to build. And I feel like, remaining humble is what allows people to feel welcomed around you, and so that creates an organic space for you to be a mentor. And I think that what you're doing is, like you said, it makes that opportunity more relevant, and it makes it easier to connect. So don't ever think that you don't have anything to offer. the hiring process, weeded out those who didn't have anything to offer, and you made it, and it's been a year. So I feel like, a lot of times self-doubt, I feel like, especially for African American people, we hesitate a lot, and it's that back and forth, and we have to train ourselves to always think optimistic. Like, if I have something to say, then it's important, and and not second guessing that. And I think you answered the third question. What is the driving force behind the work you've dedicated yourself to? And do you believe that you offer a unique perspective to your community? So, and you mentioned that your mother is West Indian.
Yeah.
So, are you first generation American?
Yeah.
So, how was that? Because I have a lot of friends who, I have one friend that's from Kenya, but then I have a lot of friends from the Caribbean, like the Bahamas and Jamaica, and I have a few friends from Barbados, and so like their experiences are completely different from where they were when they grew up and coming here. So were you a child, like a baby, or?
I was born here.
Okay.
Grew up in New York.
Okay.
Greatest place in the world. Right? So it was two different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
At home it's Caribbean food, Caribbean music.
Right.
Then when I go to school to hang out with my friends, it's American culture.
Right.
And I actually enjoyed that because I felt like I was just getting to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a world traveler just within my 8 blocks.
Right.
Hearing my friends' stories of their families growing up down south,
mm-hmm.
and marveling at the things that were different, but then also finding similar things within their family structure that we had in the Caribbean. So it was empowering, and plus it was empowering.
And you said you had an older brother.
Yeah. So
how was that relationship? How much older is he than you?
10 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you guys, he probably was like another father for you.
Yeah.
10 years is, But how was your mother? Like, was she? I'm sure she was empowering because she was feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
But how was she with your friends and the difference in culture? I know some of my friends, their parents were really strict. It was like a lot of the things that they did, they had to sneak and do it.
Yeah. She was definitely a strict West Indian mother.
Mm-hmm.
But the sense of kind of being a traveler as well, she told us never judge them.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me. That's why it's easy for me to kind of talk to people from different cultural backgrounds, right. Make a connection, right? Because I'm not looking for the differences, I'm looking for the similarities.
Right.
And that's empowering right there in itself. And that's kind of how I operate my life, and my professional relationships and my personal ones.
Right.
It's like, where do we connect? Where can we build a bridge?
Right.
That's the power of it. So that was like a great upbringing, just to kind of have her point of view, my brother's point of view of being outsiders, still having to assimilate, and me just being born here and just my culture,
And so your brother wasn't born here? So how is he? Is he more traditional, or has he? Because American culture is very, it can grab you quickly.
Yeah. So I have 3 brothers. 2 of them are more traditional.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite one, he can be traditional when it needs, but he does enjoy the American culture. He helped pave the way for me to really fully embrace being born here.
Mm-hmm.
So he was that bridge for me, because he was 8 years old when he came here.
Okay.
So he was that bridge for me to say, you're born in this country, but value your American Spanish, value being American,
right.
And also value your West Indian upbringing. So that's why I feel like it is important to be the bridge with someone else.
And I think it's so important to, and you said you grew up in Brooklyn,
yeah.
So just culture period, because that's something that I don't have. I was born here, and I'm an African American, which means that I'm from a continent, but now I live here, so I don't really have a culture. There's Black culture, but I don't have a heritage, I guess, to connect with. And you said that you're an outsider, but to me, you belong to something that is established. I feel like an outsider because I feel like my culture is just a mix of what I can grab and what I can see here, but it's all been assimilated. It's not pure.
Well, I would say too, if you look at the Caribbean, same British influence, right? Mm-hmm. Having to work with populations from India who came over in the 20s and 40s, and populations from China. So that is kind of an assimilation too of cultures
right.
and melting pots. But one thing I've always known and admired this about us globally is we truly can create something out of nothing. And,
definitely.
You know, for example, I was reading an article about the jumping of the broom tradition. Look how powerful that one simple act is of like identity and culture for like Americans and Black Americans, right? Something created here in this country by Black Americans for Black Americans to kind of celebrate themselves and celebrate love, right? So that's kind of the power I've always admired about us globally is we have a culture wherever we go. Wherever there's 2 or 3 of us gathered, we create that culture. We create those traditions that hold strong to us.
That is really true. That is true. I feel better, a little better now. Because I mean, I struggle with that. The last few years I've been trying to like dig, and it's like, wow, like there's really nothing that I can find, you know, like not anything substantial to connect with. And I don't know, it's like I want to have something to pass on to my kids. And so I feel like that's a struggle of a lot of Black Americans, like who are trying to establish themselves beyond Americanism. And number 4, what demographic do you serve through the work you currently do, and in what ways do you serve this population?
So the work that we do, me personally, we serve young professionals, right, who are looking to come back in the social impact sector or make their career in the impact sector. Our cohort of fellows is very diverse. We wanted to represent the demographics, the true demographics of the city.
Right.
So that's the population we serve. In our mind, in our aspirational goal, and what we're working towards, the future leaders of the city of Baltimore. That's who we serve. I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question?
In what ways do you serve this population?
Once again, I recognize my skill set and my strength is one of support and service. Pretty much provide them with the tools that they need and stay out of their way and watch them build. You know? And I take that role very seriously, and I'm proud to serve that role because I talk to these young people, and they're from my age, a little bit younger.
Okay.
And you just read the intelligence on their face, the passion. They're dedicated. They truly care. That's inspiring to me. So that's why I know to serve and support. Provide them with the tools to build and watch them build something great.
So I mean, that's mentorship, like completely. You know, like because without resources and information and support, like it's really hard to make it because you don't have a foundation and you don't have any, you know, like when you're creating something new, you don't have context for it. So it's amazing to have someone to bounce ideas off who has wisdom and a network to tap into. So it's amazing to offer that type of support to young people. And how do you see your work evolving over the next 5 years? And what are a few of your ultimate goals?
So over the next 5 years, actually, I hope that the people I work with now can be a source of information and support for next generations coming up to make their way and their path a little bit easier. So I hope that they can kind of walk this rocky road a little bit to advise the next generation. And so I want to be able to make sure that I can keep those relationships healthy so that when the next young person comes up, I can say, reach out to so-and-so.
Right.
You know, they've done this.
Right.
Or reach out to her. She can provide you with funding and an idea on how to get this done. So really honoring those relationships and those connections and still supporting and still trying to help people find their way and elevate them.
It sounds like you're creating a physical resource guide, like, you know, helping people build initiatives, but then also remembering what steps it took and keeping an eye out for the next generation and how these people who you're building up can be useful. So I think that's amazing. And I just have one more question about that. The young professionals that you're working with, are they a part of your job? Are they like interns per se?
So not interns, fellows, and the beauty of like what we do and how they design the organization is they're placed all throughout the city.
Okay.
Working in different sectors as well, right? But the idea is that if you're working in the medical health field with youth, you should be able to reach out to your colleague who's worked with youth all their career to bounce ideas off of, get a new, fresh perspective that you can then bring back to your job site to handle things in a different way or a more effective way. Right? So that's the network that we're laying out and we're really trying to activate and keep it going.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to discuss the questions that we had, and I just appreciate you sharing your story and being transparent.